If you've ever thought of traveling to Japan, you've probably put in the minimum effort to learn the basics of Japanese. And if you haven't done that yet but you want to, there's tons of resources on the internet. You can find articles, videos, blog posts, online courses to learn the basic words in Japanese. And I don't really want to be a broken record and teach you how to say hello, thanks, and yes in Japanese because chances are you've probably heard it 1,000 times before. Instead, I'm going to teach you a few words that really saved my butt when I went to Japan for the first time. Some of these words I had to look up myself because there was a specific situation I needed them in. Some of them I learned through language school or even my Japanese friends, and I was later surprised at how often they're actually used in real life. And as I said, some of these really saved my sometimes, so take notes. So the first category I want to talk about is shopping, because if you go to Japan, you're probably also going to go shopping there. The most important words I think you need to know are kudasai and onegaishimasu. These two will essentially allow you to politely ask for anything you want. And I'll give you an example of how to use those in combination with the next word, kore. Kore is a great word. It literally just means this. So if you're in a store and, for example, you want to buy a toothbrush and you don't know how to say toothbrush, but you see a toothbrush, all you have to do is say kore onegaishimasu and point at the toothbrush. And trust me, those two phrases, kore onegaishimasu or kore kudasai, will literally help you in any store, in any city, in every place of Japan. The next word that comes in handy when you're shopping and you don't know what the price of an item is ikura. Ikura just means how much. So if you combine kore with ikura, you ask, for example, kore ikura desu ka? You're just asking, how much is this? And if you have no idea where that desu ka just came from and you want to have a few basics about Japanese grammar, please let me know in the comments and I'll make a video about that as well. The last word I want to introduce when it comes to shopping is fukuro. This is a word you'll hear a lot when you go to Japanese convenience stores, also called konbini. Fukuro is literally just the plastic bag that they will give you your items in. So if the store clerk asks you anything that has the word fukuro in it, it probably refers to your bag. And if you want to save the environment and not use a bag for every single onigiri you buy, you can simply say fukuro wa irimasen or fukuro wa kekkou desu or fukuro wa daijoubu desu. And they all kind of mean the same thing on different levels of politeness, which is, I don't need a bag. So if you want to save the planet while you're traveling in Japan, that's how you do it. The next category I want to talk about is restaurants, because food is one of the most important things to me when I travel. First thing that you will be asked when you enter a Japanese restaurant is usually how many people will be on your table. And so it's good to know how to say that. So if you're all by yourself, you would say hitori. If you're 2 people, futari. 3 people, 3人. 4 people, 4人. And so on and so forth. You can look at the rest of those, but usually you will be fine with hitori and futari. And even when I'm out eating with Japanese friends, I usually kind of take charge and say how many people are in my party because I love the feeling I get when I just enter a restaurant and I speak Japanese from the get-go. It just makes me feel empowered. The second word for restaurants I want to recommend to you is osusume. And as you could have guessed, osusume means recommendation. So if you're not sure what to get, just ask the waiter for their osusume. Okay, here's a kind of personal one because I'm very sensitive about this stuff. If you're anything like me and you cannot handle spicy food, knowing the word karai would probably be very, very convenient for you. So if you're at a restaurant and you don't really know what to order because some of those meals on the menu might be spicy, you can always go ahead and ask, kore karai desu ka? Karai just means spicy, meaning that you can very easily find out which meals you can eat and which you can't if you are as sensitive as I am. So if you're at an izakaya with your friends, which is essentially like a restaurant bar type of thing in Japan, I love those things, you will often find yourself craving more drinks. So if you want the same exact drink or the same exact dish or the same exact something of something you already had, you can just simply say mo hitotsu, which literally just translates to another one. This one always came in handy when I was out with my group of friends and we would just keep pounding one oolong hai after another. By the way, oolong hai is just superior vodka Red Bull. It's healthy and it tastes better. At the end of your stay at a restaurant, you usually might want to maybe pay the bill unless you want to dine and dash, but you know, you should probably not do that. So how do we say the bill in Japanese? Okaike onegaishimasu. So this is a super important one to know because you'll use it every day if you go out to eat in Japan. The next category of words is just a few locations that I think are super important to know the name of. First up, eki. If you're traveling in Japan, you will most likely be using the Japanese transport system, which consists out of many trains. It's really convenient, it's super awesome. I love it. What can be a bit confusing and inconvenient though is how to get to the station. So it's always good to be able to ask, where is the station? And if you want to ask that, you simply say, Eki wa doko desu ka? Doko is also an amazing word to know because it means where, and if you literally just know the word of the location you want to go to and doko, everyone is going to understand what you want. The second location that I think is very important to know, especially when we talk about the Japanese railway system, is deguchi. And deguchi just means exit. And this word is important to know if you're like me and you have zero navigation skills inside a subway station. And to be fair, the only few times I really got lost in subway stations was like, you know, the first time I went to Shinjuku Station, the biggest railway station in the entire world, or Ikebukuro, which to be honest is just really confusing. But if you ever find yourself lost in a station, just go up to an employee and ask, Deguchi wa doko desu ka? And the third word that I think is actually the most important out of these is toire. Toire is literally just what it sounds. It means toilet, and it will really literally save your butt. Okay, so in the last category of this video, I want to talk about words that you might have to use as a last resort. And the first word is actually one that I had to use only twice ever in my time in Japan, but none of those situations were resolvable without it, so I'm glad I had it in my repertoire. The word I'm talking about is hotoite. And hotoite literally just means back off. So it was one time I was in Shibuya, I was just waiting for a friend to pick me up because we were going to go shopping or something, and my friend was a bit late, so I was just waiting there. And suddenly this guy was just standing next to me, like, you know, a normal Japanese middle-aged man just standing next to me, and I thought nothing of it, but he was a bit too close, so I, you know, scooched away a tiny bit. Well, the guy came after me and slowly came closer again. So at some point I started walking around the station a tiny bit because I felt like, you know, he was a bit too close for comfort. Well, guess what? The guy follows me. And so at some point I turned around to him and said, "Can you please leave?" Which he did not understand. So I kept walking and he kept following me. Throughout the entire station, I was just walking in circles, so clearly he wanted something from me. Which, let's be honest, I don't think he would want directions from me or anything like that. So at some point I couldn't take it anymore. I was really creeped out, I was scared. So I just turned around and yelled at him, "Hotoite!" And miraculously, he left. So in that moment, my aggressive spirit finally came in handy when I remembered this one word that I actually had never learned in language class. I had picked it up when I tried to help someone on the street and they told me to leave them alone. And this goes out to the ladies mostly. If you're ever in a situation that really requires you to be firm and say, no, you need to leave, you need to back off, this is the word for you. Let's talk about last resorts that are not as dramatic or aggressive. So if you find yourself in a situation where someone is speaking Japanese to you and you really have no clue what they're saying, one thing that you always should know how to say is, "In English, please." And the way you say that is, "Eigo de onegaishimasu." Eigo means English. Eigo is something that you should always remember how to say because that's the language you will mostly communicate in if you don't speak Japanese. So if you're at a restaurant, for example, and the waiter brings you the menu and it literally is just Japanese characters that you can't read, you should probably ask something along the lines of, "Eigo no menu arimasu ka?" Which will definitely help you out a lot. And the last word I want you to know, which is always going to be the last resort of you not speaking Japanese, is wakarimasen. If you really don't get what someone is trying to tell you, and you also don't get it in English, you don't get it in Japanese, you don't get it in any language, all you can say in that moment is, "Wakarimasen. I do not understand." And maybe, if you're lucky, the person you're trying to talk to is either just going to leave you alone or they're trying to say it in a different way, but wakarimasen will always make the other person understand that you don't understand. And that's it. Those are some of the words I find the most useful when traveling to Japan, and especially during my first trip when I was there all by myself. If you know any more super practical words for traveling to Japan that you think I should have included on this list, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see a video of me talking about what you need in order to prepare for a Japan trip, click here. I'll see you guys next time.